What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiance Before the 90 Days, Season 6, Episode 5, Suspect. So let's get started with Tyrae. Okay, so Tyrae makes me think of the times when you were in school, for example, when you were in high school, and they had your on level classes, they had your above level classes or honors or AP, and then they had your below level classes, which were called remedial classes. So in this school of life, most of us are on level. Okay, there's a good amount of us that are AP honors above level. We're kicking it in the game of life, and then there are those of us who are seriously struggling. And Tyrae is definitely in the remedial class, because the reason why he's not understanding what's going on, it just worries me that this person is out there caring for someone else. And he needs a caretaker. Tyrae needs a caretaker, not his mother. Tyrae needs a caretaker, because the fact that he's just not understanding that he's being catfished, or if he's just, playing stupid for the camera, playing stupid for to stay on a show, I don't understand what's going on, because I refuse to believe that Tyrae is this stupid, this idiotic. So anyway, let's get into it. He's at the farmer's market with his sister. He hasn't talked to Carmela in a while. I think he said that he's been messaging Carmela on Snapchat. He can tell that she's reading the messages, but there's been no response. So the fact that he's unable to talk to Carmela the way that he used to talk to her has caused this really great void in his life, because Carmela was a big part of his life. Communicating with her was a big part of his life, and now he's just has this empty space where Carmela used to be. Tyrae thinks that maybe Carmela was possibly in prison, so he keeps on making these stories of what happened to Carmela. Maybe she's married and her husband found out that they were communicating. Now he's saying that maybe Carmela was in prison and now she's released and she's back with her husband and she can't communicate with him. So his imagination is so wild with all these stories that he's making up for Carmela. I'm like, maybe Tyrae, you have a career in writing novels or in writing scripts for television, since there's a writer's strike. Maybe you can step in and write scripts for television or something, because you have a very wild imagination. You don't want to accept facts in real life. You want to create these stories to try to explain the reason why you and Carmela are no longer communicating. His sister shows him the pictures of Carmela, because they did a Google search of the pictures and nothing really came up, but the sister dug a little bit deeper and she found out that the pictures of this woman that Christian was using as Carmela were actually taken from an escort's website. So this woman in these pictures, she's actually an escort. So Tyrae says that Carmela should have told him that, number one, that she was an escort, and number two, that she was actually residing in California, because this particular escort, she lives in California and she doesn't even live too far away from Tyrae. So he's like, well, why didn't Carmela tell me that she worked as an escort and she was right here in California? This is the reason why I say that Tyrae needs to be in the remedial class of life. If this is real, okay, only if this is real. I don't know if 90 Day Fiance is catfishing us. I don't know if they're trolling us. I don't know if he's a paid actor. But if he's real and he actually thinks this way and reasons this way, then yes, he needs to be in remedial class with about 3 or 4 tutors to help him. So his sister LaShanti tells him that Christian pretended to be the girl in the picture. So there's this man out there who's catfishing you, and he's using these pictures of this escort who's got nothing to do with anything, and he's using those pictures to portray himself as this imaginary character called Carmela. So his sister tries to break it down in very little tiny pieces or easy to digest, but Tyrae is still not getting it. So then Tyrae says, well, what if Christian is Carmela's pimp? Do you understand what I'm saying with his imagination? He should be writing books. He says, well, what if Christian is Carmela's pimp? And the sister's just looking at him, and the sister's like, I just can't, she talks to the camera in her little confessional. She's like, I can't believe, how he's just not getting it. Yes, you can. LaShanti, yes, you can believe this is your brother. You grew up with this idiot. You know exactly how he is. You know exactly how his brain operates. You know how, he's just, girl, you know. Okay, so stop acting surprised that your brother's not getting it. You grew up with this man. So Tyrae calls the number. Him and his sister talk about, well, should I call the number? So he calls the number and the number went nowhere. And so then he texts the number. And this is the number that's on the escort website. If you want to contact this woman for services, this is how you get in contact with her. So he calls the number, nothing happens. It was like, the call just ended. And then he texts the number. And in his confessional, Tyrae says, I'm extremely lost and confused. Yes, sweetheart, you are. That is the story of your life. You stay in you stay in a mindset of being lost and confused. Yes, that's the story of your life. Get a t-shirt that says that, and you're going to make a lot of money. I mean, with your big old face on it. I'm extremely lost and confused. Hello, my name is Tyrae, and I'm extremely lost and confused. You really are. Because I don't know if we're being catfished, if we're being punked, but I refuse to believe that anybody is just this far gone. Moving on to Jasmine and Gino. So Gino is having a beer at a bar by himself. Him and Jasmine are still not talking after their fight about the prenuptial agreement. So he decided to take off by himself and grab a beer at this bar. So he begins to tell the bartender all of his relationship problems with Jasmine, how Jasmine doesn't want to sign a prenup, but a prenup is there to protect him, etc. So the bartender says that, well, in Panama, it's just not our culture to do that. So making it seem as if, the reason why Jasmine reacted the way she did was because in her culture they don't do this. So Gino takes that and he runs with it. Okay, so then later on, we see Jasmine, she's meeting up with her sister. She's doing her the typical Jasmine thing. She's very over dramatic. She's wailing, she's crying like we're watching a soap opera or a telenovela. She's just doing the most, and she's going on and on and on about how Gino hurt her, how her ex-husband had left her with nothing in their divorce, and she's afraid that Gino's going to be doing the same thing, and so it's history repeating itself again. She says, all I want to do is just want to be loved, just want to be protected, and Gino was supposed to be that for me. I mean, just doing the most, like giving you a whole entire Broadway production. And her sister, I liked how her sister reacted. Her sister was like really low key. She wasn't falling for the dramatics, and the sister was like, so why are you even with him? If you're always crying and you're always in pain and you're always hurt, why are you even with him? But she tells her sister, you don't understand. You just can't turn love off. Yes, you can. Okay. Yes, you can. You may not be able to turn off the feelings, but you can definitely turn off the actions and stop being with this man. If he's making you this miserable and you feel like, he's not going to be there to protect you and all he cares about is his damn money and he's always listening to his family, then just walk away from the whole situation. So her sister still doesn't understand it. Okay, she still doesn't get it. So then Jasmine says that she's willing to meet with Gino because she really wants her man back. This is what we do with Gino and Jasmine. It's always this tug and pull thing. It's always constantly, we're together, we're happy, we love each other, we're crazy about each other. Then something happens, they have this huge blowout fight. They're cussing each other out. She's screaming at the top of her lungs. Gino starts shaking in his boots because he doesn't know what to do. Then they go their separate ways. Then they come back together and there's a whole bunch of I'm sorry's and I love yous and you're the one for me and baby, let's make it work. It's so exhausting to watch these people. So she decides to meet up with Gino, and of course she starts off with apologizing. So she apologizes to him. She says she's sorry for the way that she behaved and that she does love him and that she doesn't want to lose him over money. So then Gino says that, he doesn't want to go through with the prenup. And because he thought about it, he listened to what this bartender told him. And so he's deciding to forget about the prenup. So forget about what lawyers have said. Forget about what your family has said. Forget about protecting your interests, protecting the money that you've been saving up and working hard for the past 30 years. Forget about all of that. You're going to take advice from a 20-something-year-old bartender who you probably didn't even get her name. You're going to take advice from her. Whatever she said is going to completely eradicate anything that you have ever heard or thought of regarding this prenuptial agreement up until now. Completely erase everything that you know that you feel like was right, that made sense. You're just going to go with what this bartender says. So he tells her that, yeah, he doesn't want to do the prenup anymore, and it's okay. And so then she says in her confessional that she was actually going to sign the prenuptial agreement until Gino said that he didn't want to do it anymore. So it was a good thing that she didn't speak too soon and basically just allowed him to dig his own grave. So she was like, oh, thank God I escaped that one. So then she starts to baby talk, she starts to feed him food, and here we go again, right? And so then she brings up that he needs to do a will before they get married. Now that completely turned off Gino. He's like, we're about to get married and you want to talk about my, my death? And she's like, yes, I want to make sure that I'm protected if anything happens before we get married. So she wants to make sure that she gets something out of this if Gino ends up passing away. And I don't know. It looked like Gino was actually considering it. I don't know. But at first he seemed really offended by that. And she's like, I need to protect myself. Just like the way he said he needed to protect himself. She didn't want him protecting himself, but now she wants to be protected with his money. But he couldn't protect his own money. Now she wants to be protected with his money. And so she was saying that, Gino told her, well, if anything happened to me, my family's going to take care of it. Like, Gino, you don't even believe that. Stop it. The way that these people on the show are so delusional. First we have Tyrae, now we have Gino, who believes that his family is going to take care of Jasmine if anything happened to him before they got married. Get real. Moving on to Christian and Cleo. So Christian is at his friend's house for breakfast, and his friend, he was living with his brother. Okay, so him and his brother were sharing an apartment together, and I'm not sure, I guess he was just visiting his friend, but anyways, so the friend says that Christian has been with Cleo longer than anyone else that he's ever dated. So either that means there's a real connection between him and Cleo, or because it's a long distance relationship and it really hasn't launched, that's why he's been with Cleo longer than anybody else. But I don't really count it as a relationship until they've actually seen each other and gotten together and moved on from there. So Christian's family found out about Cleo being trans. Now, the way that they found out was he confided in one sibling, and of course it just went through the grapevine, and then now the whole family knows. And they're not having it. They're not happy with it. They're not in support of it at all. They don't like it. So this has been weighing very heavily on Christian. Christian says, I'm not stuck with these people. This is how he refers to his family. So he's telling his friend, I think his name is, whatever his name is, John. He's telling his friend John, my family found out that she was trans and they didn't like it. They're not supporting it. And he says, but I'm not stuck with these people and I don't even have to associate with them. So it just kind of struck me that he referred to his family as these people. And supposedly, to hear Christian tell it and to hear his friend John tell it, him and his family are very, very, very close. I mean, he was living with his brother and it seemed like he has a very close relationship with them. But then he's like, yeah, I'm not really stuck with these people and I really don't have to associate with them. So you're going to give up your whole entire family because they don't support this one relationship with someone that you haven't even met yet? So Cleo arrives. Oh, so let's go to, where is she? In London. So we're moving on to Cleo. She's arriving now at the Airbnb that Christian has rented out for them. And Cleo now knows that Christian's family, they found out that she was trans, and they are not having it. So now Cleo knows that the family is not in support of their relationship. So Christian told Cleo that they probably shouldn't be affectionate towards one another in public when he arrives in London. So Cleo is beginning to think, okay, now his family is having an effect on him. Because his family is not in support of our relationship, now he's beginning to change his tune. And now he's telling me that when he arrives in London, he does not want to kiss me in public. So this gets Cleo extremely worried, because now Cleo is beginning to wonder if Christian is strong enough to handle this relationship relationship when it seems like he's already buckling under the pressure of his family. So Christian admits to John, now we're back in the United States with Christian and John. Christian admits to John that he's letting his family influence him, and maybe that he is beginning to overthink things. And he says that he found a connection in Cleo that he's never found in anyone before. Like I said, wait until you actually meet each other and are staying with one another and are spending time with one another before you start going off on, Cleo's are the best thing that's ever happened to me. You really can't gauge how well or how strong a relationship is when you haven't even met. Moving on from there. But it is kind of sad that his family is beginning to kind of dampen his spirits when he was so excited before about meeting Cleo. Because for him to tell Cleo, hey, when we see each other, let's not kiss. I thought that was really in bad taste. I don't think that you should announce that. Like, if you're not really comfortable with it, then kind of like, don't say anything to her beforehand, but when you do meet, kind of take control and, kind of like, kiss her where you want to kiss her, like on the cheek or something, or give her a really big, don't tell her beforehand, hey, when I see you, I'm not going to kiss you because my family, they don't really like support this relationship. I thought that was kind of mean spirited. Moving on to Nico and Misha. So it is 7:45 in the morning and Nico is waking up Misha and he's like, Misha, it's 7:45 in the morning, wake up, it's 7:40. And he's saying it as if the whole day has just, slipped past them. So the night before, nothing really happened except for some really heavy petting. And Nico, he is like sticking strong to his beliefs and his convictions that there's going to be no hanky-panky until they're married. So Nico feels like he has a lot of love for Misha. He really feels very strongly for her. And this is Misha's first relationship where she has been celibate. And she tells him that it feels weird. And I'm thinking, why would it feel weird to be celibate this early on? Well, not this early on. They've known each other for a couple of years, but y'all really don't know each other like that. So it should feel completely normal and natural to not engage in any kind of sexual activity with this man because this is the first time that you've ever seen him. But she makes it seem like it seems kind of out of place for her to not already be jumping in bed with him, even though this is the first time that they've ever physically met. So Misha says that even though we're not going to be doing any of that, I still need affection. So she likes, I guess her love language is touch. So she likes to, hold hands and cuddle and constantly be touching in some way with him. And Nico says, okay, that's fine, but we just need to give it some time. So Nico takes her sightseeing to see the important holy places in Nazareth. And it's important for Misha. So after they do all the sightseeing, they sit down, they're having a conversation, and Misha tells him that she wants to meet his mother. And Nico's like, why? You're dating me, not her. So Nico tries to kind of like, push it off to the side. He really doesn't want to have this conversation. And Misha's insisting on meeting his family. She wants to meet his mother. She also wants to meet his brothers. At least the mother knows something of her because the mother knows that Nico has been communicating with a woman, a female, but doesn't really know to what extent. The brothers have no clue. They've never even heard of her name. And so Misha is extremely offended by this. Like, why haven't you told your family about me? And so Nico, again, he just plays it off. He minimizes it, like, oh, it's no big deal if they don't know about you. Don't take it too seriously. Don't put too much thought into it. It's not a big deal that my brothers don't know who you are. And Misha feels like maybe he is possibly ashamed of her because she has a past. Lo and behold, her past is she was married before and has kids. So it's not like she was, the biggest streetwalker in Las Vegas. It was just she was married before. And so Nico tells her, okay, fine, Misha, I'll tell them. And he does it kind of dismissively, like just to shut her up about it. So they're back at the hotel room and Misha brings it up again that his family doesn't know anything about her. And Nico again tells her it's no big deal. And Misha says that he has a habit of minimizing the things that are important to her. So when she was talking to him about these issues about your family not knowing about me, he was was kind of like making jokes about it, laughing it off, trying to minimize it. And she goes, no, you have a habit of doing this, and it's really pissing me off. When I'm trying to tell you something that's really bothering me, you just kind of push it to the side like it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really mean anything to you. And Nico gets upset, and this is when he tells her that, you know, she's talking too much and that she's cute. She's more cute when she's mute. And so Nico says in his confessional that he needs to show Misha that he's the man in this relationship and that he decides what's going to be happening. He decides when and how or if his family ever even finds out about her. So I'm already looking at this relationship kind of like, what the hell's going on here? I'm not really falling for the Nico and Misha story. I'm not saying that it's fake. I just feel like it's just a really strange relationship. I don't really see them meshing, other than the fact that they're both extremely religious. And I kind of question, you know, Misha, how serious she is about this being born again thing. I don't know. There's just something that's a little off to me with Misha and Nico. But let's move on to Sheila and David. So after a 30-hour flight, David is now in the Philippines, and he says that his feelings for Sheila are even stronger for him now that he's seen her in person. So they go out to try to get something to eat. So they go to this like little hole in the wall type of restaurant. And while they're in there waiting for the food to get, first of all, it was difficult to even make the order because, as we know, David is hearing impaired, and Sheila doesn't know American Sign Language. And so it was really difficult to try to communicate, you know, what he wanted to eat. But he was so hungry and so tired, he really didn't care. He was just like, just order whatever you get, I'll get. Then he has to go use the bathroom, and there is a bathroom in the facility. So when the employee went to go to unlock the door, the key broke, so they couldn't open the door to the bathroom. So Sheila takes him outside of the restaurant and takes him to this dark corner outside and tells him, just take care of your business over there. So he had to go pee in public. I was like, oh my God. So communication is extremely hard, but Sheila says that she hopes that it does get better. They get to the hotel, they get into the room, and it's 2 twin beds. So the first thing that they do is they push the beds together. David was a little bit disappointed in the hotel. He thought it was going to be a little bit classier, but it was like your typical cheap motel. And so he wanted to really impress her. So he really, you know, didn't like the fact that it looked like one of those no-tell motels. So after they eat the dry food, because it looked really unappealing. It was like some white rice and some tough meat. No sauce, no nothing. But anyway, so after they're done eating that, they want to get down dirty. So she changes her clothes. I thought she was going to come out in like pajamas or something, but she came out in some denim shorts, like some Daisy Duke shorts and a top. I'm like, girl, you're going to sleep in that? But I guess she wasn't going to sleep in that because they ended up taking care of business. And it has been 3 years for David since he's been with a woman intimately. And Sheila kept on saying that, she has never she's never slept with a deaf person before. So she was like really curious on how, and I'm like, why would you be? And I understand that there is communication, like verbal communications and lovemaking and stuff, but I was still kind of like, you really don't need to say much. I mean, let your bodies do the talking. So, but the thing that kind of bothered me was that David didn't take a shower before they went to bed. You were on a 30-hour flight. You just landed in the Philippines, and it looks like the Philippines, the weather is warm. Like, why wouldn't you want to at least kind of like shower up before going to bed? But honey, I guess David, he was like, you know what? You ain't telling me to do a damn thing after 3 years of waiting to be with a woman. I'm getting right down to it. Take it or leave it. Moving on from there, now we have, my couples are out of order here. After that, we have, let's talk about Riley and Violet. So, Riley is still feeling some type of way that Violet did not make plans to be with him on his first full day in Vietnam. She said that she had to go do a mission or something. Violet, to me, that girl is so sneaky and so like I'm looking at Violet with the biggest side eye. I don't believe anything that comes out of that woman's mouth. She is so sneaky to me. So he's FaceTiming his friend, right? So it's his first full day in Vietnam, wakes up, showers, whatever. He starts to FaceTime one of his friends back home, and the friend says, so he tells her about how, she has plans today. She doesn't, she didn't make any plans with me. She's got other things to do, and we're going to meet up for dinner later on. So the friend was kind of like, the plan is you. She should have been making plans with you. Like, whatever she had going on, that could have been set aside, and she should have made you a priority. So this is making him feel even worse. So then he tells her, so then the friend tells him, you know, don't be beholden by her beauty and her booty. You know, keep your wits about you. You know, make sure that you are like looking at the bigger picture and not falling for her womanly ways. And then, you know, you're going to get your heart broken at the end. So keep your wits about you. And then he tells her about her reaction to the pearls, how she really wasn't that impressed with the pearls. But he said that he still wants to give her a commitment ring. And then he shows the friend the ring, and the friend was like, that looks awfully like, you know, like a wedding band. And he's like, no, it's just a promise ring. Why do grown people waste their time with promise rings? If you want to be together, be together. And then when you're ready to get married, then present the damn engagement ring. I don't understand like this whole promise ring thing when it comes to full grown adults. So Violet suddenly has a change of heart. She feels bad about, you know, not spending time with him. And so whatever she had going on, she canceled it. And she decides that she wants to go ahead and meet up with him. So she calls him and tells him to meet her at Independence Palace. Independence Palace is this palace where one of the former presidents of Vietnam used to live. So he asked her, like, what made you change your mind about seeing me? And she basically said, you know, I felt bad that you were going to be by yourself all day. So then he tells her that he felt like he was an afterthought. And he wants to talk more about this. He wants to talk more about his feelings and all of this and that, and you know how he felt slighted by the fact that she was going to be doing something else today, and she doesn't want to do that. She just wants to go ahead and finish up this tour of Independence Palace. So what I really want to know, what was Violet really up to? What was really going on? Because I don't think it had anything to do with her work. Like I said, I don't trust Violet as far as I can throw her. She's very, very sneaky. She has a lot of secrets. What you see is not what you get when it comes to Violet. Plus, the humidity in Vietnam was kicking Riley's butt. He had like a full beach towel, on him to wipe off the sweat because he was constantly, I mean, I could just feel how wet and moist he was from the humidity of Vietnam. This man from Pennsylvania, he really was not ready for any of that. Moving on from that, now we have Amanda and Razvan. Not much to see here, people. But when their segment started, at the beginning of their segment, they showed, you know how they'll show like different scenery of the city that they're in. They showed two little one-eyed kittens. It was just so adorable to me. But anyways, Amanda feels like Razvan is really different from before. Like he did the old bait and switch on her. She says that when she was in America and they were communicating long distance, he was very sweet. He was very caring, very attentive. But now that she's here in Prague? She feels like he's kind of distant, like he's not the same. Well, he probably feels the same way too. I'm pretty sure she was a lot more loving and warm and affectionate when they were long distance communicating. But now that she's here, she like is very cold, very distant, doesn't really talk much, isn't really affectionate. So, you know, they're both of their expectations has been let down. So she thought that he would be more considerate to her feelings about him kissing a girl on video. And Razvan tells her that he's been feeling like she's been distant, like she doesn't really want to be close to him. And this is worrying him because he says his ex-wife, that marriage ended because she couldn't take his career. The career made her feel very insecure, and he feels like this relationship may be going down the same path, which hurts him because he's really, really, really into Amanda. And then he starts crying while he's talking about this. And so Amanda's looking at him like, oh man, I really messed up. So she tries to be a little bit more affectionate with him. She's rubbing the back of his head, and she apologizes to him for being so distant. And that's basically where we're at. But we'll see how it really goes when it comes to this video shoot and whether or not he's going to kiss this girl, and how Amanda's going to react when she does see him kissing this girl. So not much really happened with that. That's the end of my review. I don't want to keep y'all too long. I really do hope that y'all enjoyed it just a little bit. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video if you like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I will definitely talk to you later. Bye.